Okay, 10 things that I believe we have learnt in the Premier League. Now, I have tried to make these so it's not just a reactionary thing. So, I feel like a lot of people, because West Ham are doing shit, just think West Ham are shit. Whereas, I don't think they will be for the whole season. So, when I say things we've learnt, I feel like maybe things that will carry on throughout the season. Um, Hopefully, anyway, for my sake. Number one, and the most boring one on here, so don't worry. VAR are using a little bit more common sense, especially on handballs. And I feel like there's a bit more of an emphasis on clear and obvious this season compared to last year, which was a fucking disaster, quite frankly. And don't get me wrong, do I think VAR is still good? Absolutely fucking not. But it is better. It is 100% better this season. Maybe only by maybe 20%, but I do feel like they are using more common sense. I feel like we know that. I feel like we have learned that this season. So that's my number one. I never want to talk about VAR again. So yeah. 2. Aston Villa are different, but still as good. In my Premier League predictions video, I didn't think they would be as good, but they are. They're a very different team. It's quite a dramatic difference, considering they haven't really lost anyone apart from Douglas Luiz. But when you look at the added John Duran, who showed signs last year of being a good player, but now he's literally playing like one of the best strikers in the world. Morgan Rogers has become an absolute beast. Or I say that, he made good cameos last year. He scored quite a few goals. But the performances are there this year. And now you have that 2 pivots in Onana and Yuri Tielemans, which are dominating. Yuri Tielemans looks a completely different player. Back to the Tielemans we saw at Leicester. And I feel like Onana is helping that. And I didn't think Onana could fill Douglas Luiz's boots. But yeah, he has. And Onana has been a revelation. I mean, the guy is literally starting on the halfway line, running into the box for a header. The guy is mental. But now he's been excellent. And those two have formed a very good relationship. And even though this is a very different Villa, it's just as good, if not better. They should have 5 wins out of 5. They should have beat Arsenal. Somehow Ollie Watkins is their worst player now. If he just scored his chances versus Arsenal, which he should have, Villa would be on 15 points, 5 wins out of 5 right now. 3. Jamie Vardy can still do a job in the Premier League. My predictions video, again, I'll come back to it. I feel like I will reference that video a few times. I literally said this. Are Leicester just going to rely on Jamie Vardy in 2024? The answer has been yes, they are. This guy is still leading the line very well for Leicester City at like 37 years old. He's got 2 goals. He should have more. He's doing excellent. Way better than I thought he would do. And fair play to Jamie Vardy, because he has massively proved me wrong. And you know what? I do think actually now this will kind of carry on throughout the whole season. So fair play to Jamie Vardy. 4. Another manager doesn't really fancy Evan Ferguson. It's going to be another season where he doesn't get much game time. Look at the performances that Joao Pedro is putting in. Okay, he's not scored many goals, but the performances have been excellent. And is he really going to displace a Danny Welbeck that looks like prime R9? I'm not sure. I don't know what's happened to Danny Welbeck. He's been pretty good for Brighton the whole time he's been there, but he's reaching different levels. This is the best Danny Welbeck has ever played in his career. The performance versus Nottingham Forest was outrageous. The guy dribbled past 4 players. Okay, he missed, but it was a good save. He's just leading the line. He's scoring, he's dribbling past players. He's making himself a handful, and it looks like Evan Ferguson, once again, who was this £100 million player, and has only 25 Premier League starts, by the way, is going to have another year sat on the bench. Number 5, Tottenham Hotspur don't have good enough wingers. Now, maybe we knew that anyway, Some people didn't rate Brennan Johnson, understandably, but he did put up good numbers last year. I actually think he had about 15 goal contributions in the Premier League in total, which was pretty decent for his first year. But he's definitely proven that he's not at the level if Tottenham want to push on. And Son, to be honest, the fact that we're still relying on Son so heavily in 2024 is a joke. I hate Tottenham. I hate Tottenham. This season has been atrocious so far. So I'm very negative on Tottenham. But the wingers for me, Kulusevski coming on, it's not good enough. We've literally, the most stubborn manager in the world is slightly changing his tactics so he can get Kulusevski in the 10 because our wide players just aren't good enough. We're relying on Son. He's not good enough to be relied on or to carry us through games anymore. Brennan Johnson isn't good enough. And when Timo Werner comes on, when we're losing, I think it's almost giving me a stroke. So, yeah, the Tottenham Hotspur attackers, I feel like we're learning, or we have learnt in this first 5 games. When you look at the Leicester performance, didn't put our chances away. The Newcastle game should have won. Arsenal, very poor from the wingers. What other game was there? There was probably another one. I've just been shit. The wingers have been bad. They're not good enough. And Tottenham, poor recruitment has cost them from pushing maybe Arsenal, maybe Liverpool and Man City. Who knows? 6. Why did I hold up a 3? I have absolutely no idea. 6. Nicholas Jackson is good enough for Chelsea right now. There was heavy doubts from me, from many others, from millions of people, oh God, that Nicholas Jackson wasn't good enough. He definitely is, and I think we've learned that in the first 5 games of this season. In fact, we probably did learn it towards the back end of last year, but he's just kind of proven that point now this year. He started so well. 4 goals, 2 assists in 5 games. But the thing is with Jackson, the performances are very good. He is a nightmare for a defender. He gave many defenders a problem last year, and he's continued that. A big reason why Chelsea are just smashing teams, of course, with Cole Palmer as well. And this guy, even though I think when Chelsea develop into a title challenging team, there's too much talent, I believe, for that not to happen. I'm not sure he will be at that level, but for where they are right now, I think Nicholas Jackson is a perfectly fine, good enough striker for Chelsea. Number 7, Nuno Espirito Santo is a very good mid-table manager. Came to Spurs, he was awful. I don't know what the guy was doing. We lost 3-0 to the worst Man United side of all time. Then, he goes to Nottingham Forest, and I thought this was going to be a disaster. But you know what? This guy knows how to get a mid-table to bottom, 10th to 15th level team. He knows how to make them very tough to beat and one of the best counter-attacking sides in the league, hence why the owners signed him. Well done to the owners. Do you know how difficult it is to beat Liverpool? Like at home, especially when they start so well. They've got all the momentum. Salah's looking back to his best. Van Dijk, Trent, Luis Diaz, they are on fire. McAllister, Gravenberch. Nottingham Forest didn't care about that one little bit. They went to Anfield and they won 2-1. Counter-attacking, being tough to beat, some good signings. Nuno Espirito Santo did a job on Arne Slot. Then they go to Brighton at the Amex, who have also been one of the best sides in the Premier League so far. He doesn't give a shit that he's down to 10 men. They're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to come back, and it was his substitutes actually that combined for the goal. So this guy is just performing very well at the moment. From what he can do as a manager, he's doing excellent. And you look at that team, it's kind of like some misfits of the Premier League. It's like you've got Ward-Prowse, you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi, you've got Anthony Elanga, Chris Wood. All these players are known as flops or not good enough for their other clubs. But he's kind of just brought them all together and made them very tough to beat. Hence why they haven't lost a game all season. Okay, the next one I think is the most interesting one on here. I don't see enough people talking about it. Newcastle need a new goalkeeper. I'm watching Nick Pope this season and it's a disaster. I really think Pope has been awful. The distribution on the guy, I mean, as a Newcastle fan, I remember how I used to feel when Hugo Lloris used to get the ball, right? You're nervous, you're shaking, I'm clicking my fingers, I'm biting my nails. Nick Pope, oh my god, he's like a worse version of Lloris somehow. I don't even know how that's possible, but he is. So they have to get rid of him. I think he's making the defenders nervous, the fans nervous. He's just kicking the ball out all the time. He literally cannot find a pass to save his life. And the one thing he was good at, he used to get praise for, was his shot stopping. That's also gone down the drain. This guy is making the most basic saves look like the most difficult saves. He thinks he's David Raya, making these incredible saves. It's like, you could have caught it. You could have just caught the ball. But no, he's flapping his arms around. He's making camera saves. He's on the floor all the time. And I think it's getting Newcastle in massive trouble. And I think Newcastle do need a new keeper. And I think we've learnt Nick Pope is not a good enough goalkeeper for Newcastle anymore. 9. Haaland is not happy with just 2 Premier League titles, not a treble. This guy don't give a shit. This guy wants it all. And I think this guy must be injecting like TRT or something before matches, because he's like a bull. This guy is incredibly driven. To win a treble, back-to-back Premier League titles, and look even more up for it than you were in the first and second season is quite impressive. Look at what he did to Ethan Pinnock. He just said, "Get off of me, mate." Randomly just runs into Saliba, for a header. No real reason. He just did it. Runs into Thomas Partey, and then throws the ball at Gabriel, and then has a massive go at Gabriel Jesus. Tells Arteta to stay humble. This guy, what the fuck? I've never seen anyone so driven, I don't think, as Erling Haaland. No, this guy is not complacent. And I think there were maybe concerns about Man City and complacency. But this guy is showing no complacency whatsoever. And I must say, his performances are the best of his career so far. He's just been outstanding. And number 10 is a bit of an unexpected one for me. I hadn't watched this player much before, but Manchester United have one of the best right backs in the Premier League. Mazraoui, for me, is that. I'm surprised at how good he is. He's both-footed, for one. Not in terms of he's going to swing a David Beckham type cross with his left foot, but he can receive it on his left foot. He can make a pass with his left foot. And that just means there's more angles that open up to him. His defending is incredibly sound. He's quick. He can get forward. I've been really impressed. And he's making an impact on a game. When you watch Man United, you can notice Mazraoui. You tend to say his name quite a lot, or you see him on the ball quite a lot, or you see him involved quite a lot. And I think that's quite impressive for a right back. When you look at the signings Man United made, De Ligt, Ugarte, Yoro, they were all supposed to stand out massively. But for me, the best one of the lot has been Mazraoui. And I think if you were to make a signing of the season so far, he would be the right back in that position. I can't think of anyone else. There might be someone else. But for me, off the top of my head, it would be Mazraoui. And I think we've learnt, he's one of the best fullbacks in the league. Anyway, that is 10. There will be ones like Liam Delap has been good, but to be honest, I haven't watched Ipswich yet, once. So I don't want to comment on a team that I haven't actually watched, which is something that many, I feel, YouTubers do. I don't want to read a spreadsheet and think, oh yeah, he's got 90% pass accuracy. He's been excellent. No, if I haven't watched them, I don't really comment on them. And there's too many teams that I just haven't really seen enough of yet. So these were the ones that I pointed out that stood out for me in the games that I've watched. And yeah, comment what else we have learnt, what you have learnt. Maybe something about your club or not. Subscribe if you are new. Like the video if you enjoyed. And thank you very much for watching.